Yesterday we completed the second adhyay. Today we'll start with the third adhyay, that is Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga has in all 43 shlok in it. The Lord previously in the second adhyay. Now, third adhyay, what is it about? Even in the second adhyay, actually, Bhagwan Shri Krishna was telling us to be detached, to do our actions or karma in a particular way. But then why has he specifically dedicated one more chapter or one more adhyay to it? So here what happens is, the third chapter, it starts with Arjun questioning Sri Krishna why he needs to engage in the battle. He doesn't want to fight. So here Arjun asks Krishna why he needs to engage in battles, because when battle comes, it's karma yoga. He's saying, if knowledge is greater than action. So in the previous chapter, Bhagwan told Arjun that Gyan Yoga, knowledge, is much better than Karma Yoga. Then if Bhagwan is saying that, then why is Bhagwan asking him to fight the battle or perform Karma Yoga? So Arjun here is confused. So he is asking that if you consider knowledge superior than action, then why do you ask me to wage this terrible war? I am perplexed and confused. So please let me know why you are saying this. Here, then in this chapter, that is Karma Yoga, or you can say Yoga of Action. In this chapter, Bhagwan Shri Krishna, he explains to Arjun that nobody can remain without karma. No matter how much you say or how much you decide that I will not perform any karma, so I will not be exposed to whatever leads the after action or the fruits of the action, and I will be sinless. But Bhagwan says it's not possible at all, because no matter what you do in life, you are going to perform karma one way or the other. Even if when you are sitting, you are standing, you are sleeping, you are performing karma. So a person cannot live his life without karma. So in the first shlok, Bhagwan says, O sinless one, the two paths leading to enlightenment were previously explained by me. The first path was the path of knowledge. And this path is for those who are inclined towards contemplation. That means those who are more interested or bent towards Jnana Yoga. And the second path is Karma Yoga, those who are inclined towards action. So Bhagwan had told about these two paths. One is Jnana Yoga and then is Karma Yoga. In the next shlok, Bhagwan tells us that no one cannot achieve freedom from karmic reactions by merely abstaining from work. So if you say, I will not perform any action, I will not do anything, you are not going to achieve freedom. Your karmas will not be eliminated. Nor can one attain perfection of knowledge by mere physical renunciation. Similarly, if you renounce everything, your family, your work, everything, still you will not get the perfect knowledge or you will not attain wisdom. On that, he says, there is no one who can remain without action even for a moment. Indeed, all beings are compelled to act by their qualities born of material nature. We human beings, our nature is Trigunatmak, Sattva, Rajat, Tama. So, Bhagwan here tells us
Ma'am,
that whatever, yes,
ma'am, please recite the sloka. Your slok
you want me
recitation
to
is so
recite? Okay, I
beautiful.
thought.
Mind gets calm. Yes. Ma'am, your recitation like calms my mind and everything. You're the best teacher I got for my Geeta classes. Thank you.
Okay, I thought I'm taking too much of time and you'll be like sitting here for a long time. That's why today I was not reciting. I will recite if you want. Okay. Now, third shlok. Shri Bhagavan Vacha. That means here, Bhagavan Shri Krishna is telling us लोकेऽस्मिन् द्विविधा निष्ठा पुरात् प्रोक्ता मया नघ ज्ञानयोगेन साङ्ख्यानां कर्मयोगेन योगिनाम्. As explained before, Bhagwan Shri Krishna tells here that there are two paths to enlightenment or for wisdom. One is Gyan Yoga and second is Karma Yoga. In the next shlok, that is the fourth shlok, Na karmanamanaarambhan naishkarmyam purusho shrute na cha sanyasana siddhim samadhigacchati. Bhagwan in this shlok tells us that we cannot attain freedom from karmic reactions. That means we cannot be free from karma phal just by abstaining from work or not doing our work and just sitting idle. Nor can one attain perfection of knowledge by mere physical renunciation. So if we renounce everything, all the materialistic things, and just go in the jungle or forest and sit, that is also not right. Hi kaschit kshanamapi jatu tishtatya karma krut karyate yavashak karma sarvav prakriti jair gunaihi. Bhagwan further tells us that there is no one who can remain without action even for a moment, because all living beings are compelled to act because of their inborn qualities. As I told you, we have three gunas, sattva, raja, tama, and every action that we perform because of these gunas. Depending on which guna is dominant, our action will depend on that. So in the first line of this verse, Bhagwan refers to the karma yogi and the karmic action, that is the work. And in the second line, he tells us that just the true karma yogi must learn to work without any attachments of fruits. So because of three gunas, we are going to perform action, sattva, raja, tama. But further in the next shlokas, then he tells us that no matter which karma you perform, always remember that don't be attached to the fruits, or don't do it with expectation of any kind of fruit. Karmendriyani संयम्य य आस्ते मनसा स्मरन् इन्द्रियार्थान् विमूढात्मा मिथ्याचारः स उच्यते. In this shlok, Bhagwan tells us that those who restrain the external organs of action while continuing to dwell on sense objects in mind certainly delude themselves and are also called as hypocrites. In yesterday's session, Bhagwan had said the same thing. He is repeating the same thing, that merely abstaining from the actions, not doing that action. Okay, I like tea, but I'm going to stop drinking tea. You have stopped that action, but in the mind, if you are thinking, wow, I'm missing tea, I wish I could have tea. If that thought is coming to your mind, the taste of tea comes, the tea comes in front of your eyes. So even if you're thinking about it, though you're not performing the action, though you're not actually drinking tea, still you're performing the action, so you're a hypocrite. That means you have not renounced all the actions. So here just physical renunciation is not expected, but Bhagwan says that even mental renunciation, even the thoughts should not come in your mind. Seventh shlok. Yastvindriyani manasa niyamaya bhaterjuna karmendriyai karma-yogam asaktas savishishyate. Bhagwan in this shlok tells us that those karma yogis who control their senses with their mind, O Arjun, and engage the working senses in working without attachment are certainly superior. So here Bhagwan tells us that karma yoga, okay, you are doing a particular action and now you were doing it and now you have stopped performing that action. So you are abstaining from the action, but even in your mind your senses are controlled. That means you do not see that object. For example, if you like any sweet, you are not eating that sweet, but at the same time along with that you are not even thinking about it. The taste is not coming, the picture of that sweet is not coming in your mind. You don't feel like eating. The desire to consume or experience it, when that has also been removed from your mind, you are free from it, then that karma yogi is superior. That is how you should be. Eighth shlok. Niyatam kuru karma tvam karma jyo ya karmanaha Sharirayatrapi च te na prasiddheda karmanaha. Bhagwan here tells us that you should thus perform your prescribed Vedic duties. So whatever has been prescribed in our Vedas, in our scriptures, you should perform all those duties, since action is superior to inaction. So Bhagwan here is telling us that it is not that you should not do any karma. It is not that you should not do any activity. You should do it. But which activity you should be doing? The activities, the duties that are described or suggested or discussed in our scriptures. You should do or perform those duties. By ceasing activity, even your bodily maintenance will not be possible. Because if you stop doing all the activities, how will you maintain this body? For you to progress, you need this body. And for you to maintain this body, you need to eat, you need to bathe, you need to do work. Only then our body will be healthy. And if our body is healthy, only then we will be able to move ahead in the path of yoga. So Bhagwan tells action is important. You should do action, but which action? Whichever action or karma is prescribed or told in our Vedas. In the ninth shlok, Bhagwan tells us Yajñatha karmanonyatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha tadartham karma kaunteya Mukta Sangasamachara. Bhagwan tells us that work must be done as a yajna. Just like we perform a yajna, in the same way, whatever we do, any activity that we do in our life, we should consider it as a yajna to the Supreme Lord. So any work we do, like for example, I am sitting here, I am explaining Bhagavad Gita, you are listening or you're studying, you're going to give the NET exam. So perform whatever work or duty that you're doing, consider it as yajna. So here yajna, this word, it denotes the action or the karma that we do. And whatever yajna that we perform, we should do it as if we are doing it for the God, not for us. Why? Because otherwise, Bhagwan is telling, if we don't do it like that, then work causes bondage in this material world. Okay? If we don't do this, if we don't surrender to the God, if we don't perform actions or work as per yajna, as if it is yajna, and we don't give it or surrender to the God, then is going to create bondage. And if there is bondage, again, we are going to be entangled in the cycle of birth and death. So Bhagwan tells us, O son of Kunti, for the satisfaction of God, perform your prescribed duties without being attached to the result. So Bhagwan here is telling about Nishkam Karma. Do whatever action you do, but do it for the God. Offer it as a prasad to the God. Now, here in the next shlok, Bhagwan is telling us relation between. Now, in the next shlok, Bhagwan is telling us the relation between deities and humans. So, what is the relation between these two? That is discussed in the next shlok. Saha yajñah praja srushta purovacha prajapatihi anena pravishyadvam esha vostivishta. Here, Bhagavan is telling that in the beginning of creation, Brahma created humankind. So it was who created us? Bhagavan is telling that Brahma is our creator. And when he created us along with the duties that he created us so that we can perform our duties. And he said, prosper in the performance of these yajnas, for they shall bestow upon you all you wish to achieve. So when Bhagavan created, he created us or this humankind with some aim. So what was his idea or aim of behind that? He said that go do your duties. That means perform yajna or sacrifices. And when you perform yajna, you will be bestowed or you will receive everything that you wish. You will get everything. There is nothing that you will not get. He was so kind to us and very clear. In the next shlok, Bhagavan tells us, Devan bhavayatanena te deva bhavayantu vaha parasparam bhavayantasya shreyah paramavapyastha. Here, Bhagavan tells us that by your sacrifices, the celestial gods will be pleased. So when you perform yajna, when you perform the duties, what will happen? All the celestial gods will be pleased. And by cooperation between humans and the celestial gods, great prosperity will reign. So there will be prosperity on earth. Ishtan bhogan hivo deva dasyante yajna bhavitaha tairdаттana pradayebhyo yo bhunte stena eva saha. In this shlok, Bhagavan tells us the celestial gods, being satisfied by the performance of a sacrifice, will grant you all the desired necessities of life. But those who enjoy what is given to them without making any offerings in return are verily thieves. So, Bhagavan is telling us that when we perform this sacrifice or yajna, or when we perform the duties that are written in our scriptures that God has told us, we will be granted by everything, whatever we need in life. So we'll have a very nice, happy life. But there is one condition. It's like again the stars apply, conditions apply. What is that condition? That those who enjoy what is given to them without offering anything in return or offering it to the God, they are called as thieves. Now, here, important word you need to remember is stena. Stain is used for thief. So, remember, stena means thief. 3.30. Yajyashishtashinas santo muchyante sarvakilbishaihi bhujyate te tvagham papa ye pachantyat Kamakaranat. Here, Bhagwan tells us that the spiritually minded people who eat food that is first offered in sacrifice are released from all kinds of sin. Others who cook food for their own enjoyment verily eat only sin. So Bhagwan tells us even in even our elders used to tell us the same thing, and they used to do the same thing. Whatever food is cooked, first we used to offer it to the Supreme God, and then it was eaten. So we always had that tradition of offering Naivedya every day, but over the period, this tradition it changed. But now understand the meaning, the scientific reason behind this. Today we eat, what all do we eat? We eat pizza, pasta, burger, patata vada, bhaji, non-veg. Okay, now why has God told us this? Because do you think that if we order this or we prepare this, we'll be able to offer this to God? So when we are offering to God, we will only cook the food that is pleasant, which is good for our health, that God has told us. So only that food will be cooked and that food will be consumed. Because whatever we eat, that is how our mind or our thought process begins. That's why it is told that always eat sattvic food. So here Bhagwan tells us that if the food that you cook, if it is offered to God, then we are released from all kinds of sin. 3.14 and 15. Annad bhavanti bhutani पर्जन्यादन्न संभवः यज्ञाद् भवति पर्जन्यो यज्ञ कर्म samudbhavah. How was Anna created from Brahma? So how did the food that we eat, how did it come into existence? That is what Bhagwan is telling over here. All living beings subsist on food. We are alive because we consume food. And food is produced by rains. Rain, they come, or rain is showered because of the performance of yajna. And the sacrifice is produced, or the yajna is done by the performance of prescribed duty. We will read both the shlokas and then we'll understand, because here Lord Krishna is describing the cycle of nature, that rain begets green. That means when the rain falls, then only we get grains. Only then farmer is able to grow food. Then grains are eaten and transformed into blood. From blood, semen is created. Semen is the seed from which the human body is created. And human beings perform yajnas. And these propitiate the celestial gods. These make the celestial gods very happy, who then cause the, and this is the cycle that continues. Such a beautiful cycle Bhagwan is telling us. In the next sloka, Bhagwan tells us, Karma brahmodbhavau viddhi brahmakshara samudbhavam tasmat sarvagatam brahma nityai yajyai pratishtitam. Bhagwan here is telling us the duties for human beings are described in the Vedas. So, in the first shlok that we saw today, that is shlok number 3 or 4, we saw that whatever duties Bhagwan is telling us, it is written in Vedas. So, whatever is written in our scriptures, those duties are to be performed. And the Vedas, who manifested the Vedas? God Himself. Therefore, the all-pervading Lord is eternally present in acts of sacrifice. So, it is said that the sages or the rishi, they saw in the sky or in the air whatever is God told. And whatever they saw through their siddhis, they wrote it down. And that is what we call as Vedas. So many mantra, they also were seen by the sages just in the open air. And they wrote it down, and that is how it was passed on. Therefore, if God Himself has told us what is to be done and it has been written in Vedas, then we need to follow whatever is described in Vedas. Now, here I have just put it in a chat that Akshar Brahma, that is Paramatma. But because Paramatma, he told us everything, the duties, what is to be done, what is not to be done, which we call as Ved. In that, Karma Samudaya is mentioned. What are the right karmas? Then, from that, Yajna, and when we perform Yajna as foretold in the Vedas, we get Vrishti, that is rain. And when it rains, we get food, and from food, all the beings are created. Now, in the next shlok, Evam pravartitai chakran nanu vartayati hayaha aghayurindriya ramo mogham partha sajivati. In this shlok, Bhagavan tells us, O Parth, those who do not accept a responsibility in the cycle of sacrifice established by the Vedas are sinful. They live only for the delight of their senses. Indeed, their lives are in vain. That means Bhagavan here is telling that whatever cycle has been described in Vedas, everyone should follow those cycles religiously. And those who do not follow, they are acting in sin. Aghayu means sinful life. That means they are leading a sinful life. If you are just living to enjoy whatever you feel that I want to do this, I am doing it. I don't want to do this, no. If you live a life where the meaning of your life is only enjoyment and running after your senses, then it's an aghayu. Aghayu means a sinful life. And there is no point. Those lives are in vain. That means it's pointless. Next shlok. Yastvat tireva syad atmatruptascha manavaha atmanyeva cha santushtas tasya karyana vidyate. Bhagavan here tells us, but those who rejoice in the self, that means someone who is focused on who a real entity is, who are free from illusion, who are illuminated and fully satisfied in the self, for them there is no duty or no kartavya. But those who rejoice in this, then in shlok number 19, Bhagavan tells us that tasmadasaktas satatam karyam karma samachara asakto yacharan karma paramapnoti purushaha. Here Bhagavan tells us that, therefore, giving up attachment, performing actions as a matter of duty, because of working without being attached to the fruits, one attains supreme. So whatever Bhagavan has told in the second chapter until now, he's just summing it up. That you should perform actions, but those actions you should perform as your duty without being attached to it, without being attached to the fruits. And when you perform such actions, you attain the supreme, that is God. 20th shlok. Karmanaiva hi samsiddhim asthita janakadayaha lokasangrahamevapi sampashyan kartumarhasi. And 21st shlok is Yadyadacharate shreshthas tatta devetaro janaha sayat pramanam kurute lokastadanu vartate. So in these two shlokas, Bhagavan is telling that by performing these prescribed duties, King Janak and others attain perfection. You should also perform your duties to set an example for the good of the world. Whatever actions great persons perform, common people follow. And whatever standards they set, all the world it pursues. So you see Swami Vivekananda, Sant Jnaneshwar, all these people, they are example for us. Why do we follow them, or why do we try to follow them? Because they have performed certain actions or duties in such a way that they have set an example that this is right, this is wrong, this is how you should live, this is how you should perform all the actions. So Bhagwan here is telling that you should to perform your duties in such a way that the world will look at you as an example. World should say that, oh, look at her or look at him. This is how you should live. And people will follow you automatically. That is what has been told here. Yet shlok. Mai sarvani karmani sanyasyaध्यात्मचेतसा निराशिर्निर्ममो भूत्वा युध्यस्व विगतज्वरः. Now this shlok is very, very important from exam point of view. Now here Bhagwan is telling us, performing all actions as an offering unto me. Constantly meditate on me as the Supreme. Become free from desire and selfishness, and with your mental grief departed, fight. So Bhagwan here is telling us that perform all the actions as if you're offering it to me as a duty. Constantly meditate, that means constantly be in my thoughts. Whatever you're doing, it is for the Supreme. Be with Him 24/7. And when you do this, you will be free from desire and selfishness. So whatever acts you will perform, after that will be selfless acts. There will be no desire. Your mind will not run after the senses. And then what will happen? You will be free from mental grief. So whatever you're feeling, Arjun, right now, the sadness you're feeling, you will be free from that. And then you will fight. Now, from exam point of view, there are certain words that you need to remember, because the shlok can be asked, or for 2 or 3 words could come in your exam. That is nirashi. Nirashi means free from desires. Nirmamo, detached from all the objects that we have. So, or you can say, do not be greedy. Vigata jvaraha, that means all the mental afflictions. Here, all the mental afflictions that we have, the desire that we have, that is jvar, and freedom from this or these mental afflictions is vigata jvar. So jvar is having those mental afflictions or attachment or desires. And vigata jvar is freedom from those mental afflictions. So remember these 3 words, very important: nirashi, nirmamo, and vigata jvara. Next shlok. Indriyasyendrasyarthe ragadveshau vyavasthitau tayorna vashamagachet tau hyasya paripanthinau. Bhagwan here tells us that the senses naturally experience attachment. If we have sense organs, we have senses, panchanyani indriya, of course we are going to naturally be attached. But at the same time, attachment and aversion to the sense objects. But do not be controlled by them, for they are waylays and foes. Bhagwan here is telling us that when we have senses, we are definitely going to be have 2 experiences, that is attachment and aversion. Attachment means because of senses we are attached to certain objects or materialistic objects, and aversion means that you will try to abstain from certain things, that I don't want to do this, and aversion to the sense objects, that I will not do this, I will not do that. You will try to control them. But he says that do not be controlled by them, but Both are not good. Why? Because attachment, that is rag, and aversion, that is dvesh, both are our enemies. So here Bhagwan is telling us that rag and dvesh, that means too much of attachment and too much of aversion, also both with the sense objects, they are enemies. Why? He is explaining it in the next shlokas. So 3.36. Now Arjun is asking, Arjuna Uvacha अथ केन प्रयुक्तोऽयं पापै चरति पुरुषः अनिच्छन्ति अपि वाष्णैर्य बलादिव नियोजितः. Arjun here asks, why is a person impelled to commit sinful acts, even unwillingly? Why do people commit sins? As if by force. So here Arjun says that, okay, if such is it, then why do people commit sins? At times people don't even want to do it. Then why are they forced to commit sin? So all the questions and the answers are here. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Kama Esha Krodha Esha Rajo Guna Samudbhavaha Mahashano Mahapapma Vithayena Miha Vairinam. Bhagavan here is telling us it is lust. Why do we commit sin, or why do we commit sinful acts? It is because of lust, which is born of contact with the mode of passion, and later it is transformed into anger. So first, lust is born, then we come in contact with the passion, then it is transformed into anger. Know this as a sinful, all devouring and enemy of the world. We will take these 3-4 shlokas together because they are connected and you will understand the meaning of it. Now here first let's understand this from Rajogun. Because we are Trigunatma, because of that Rajogun, what happens? Kama, that means desires. Desires, they arise in our mind. That I want this, I want that. From desire, anger. So if our desire is not fulfilled, we get angry. And when we are angry, that anger in a person destroys a man. In the previous chapter also, Bhagwan had told us that when a person gets angry, then his mind is delusioned, he is not able to think clearly. And when he is not able to think clearly, he performs certain actions which are not good for him. He cannot differentiate between right and wrong. And because of this, a person is destroyed. So, Bhagwan tells us the root of all these is desire. That comes from Rajogun. Bhumenanvriyate vanhir yatha darshumaleena cha yatholbena garbhas tatha te nedamavrutam. Again, Bhagwan is explaining, just as a fire is covered by smoke. So if there is too much of smoke, we can't see the fire. Okay, where there is fire, there is smoke. A mirror is masked by dust, and an embryo is concealed by the womb. Similarly, one's knowledge gets shrouded by desire. So here, from Kam or desire, because of Kam or desire, Bhagwan tells us that Gyan, which we call Vivek Gyan in Patanjali Yoga Sutra, also Patanjali Rishi tells us that Vivek Gyan or wisdom is concealed because of desire or agyan. So here Bhagwan gave a few very good examples that just like fire is covered by smoke, mirror is covered by dust, just like an embryo is protected or concealed in womb. Similarly, one's knowledge gets shrouded by desire. So if there is desire, if there is calm, if there is lust, then we don't think properly. we forget the difference between right and wrong. And therefore, we don't attain jnana or vivek buddhi. 3.40. Indriyani mano buddhir asyaadhishthanamuchyate etairvimohayatyeshyat jnanamavritya dehinam. Here, Bhagwan tells us that the senses, the mind, and intellect are said to be breeding grounds of desire. Okay, so where do all these things, where do they grow? Or because of like the desire, where does it grow? It grows. It is a ground for senses, mind, and intellect. And from these desire, our actions arise. Through them, it clouds one's knowledge and dilutes the embodied soul. So, the place or the breeding ground of desire and anger are sense, mind, and buddhi. So, when our senses, our mind, our intellect, it runs after the objects of their objects, or you can say the materialistic world, then desires arise. In the previous chapter, if you remember, we had studied about this, that if the senses are detached from their objects, then there is no desire in our mind. It is all about how much you think about a particular materialistic things. So for example, if we don't think about I want this car or I want to go to an abroad trip, you will not get attached to it. That desire will not come. So everything was about how you think. So it starts from there, from calm or desire, or because of that, Gyan or Vivek is concealed. And when Gyan or Vivek is concealed, a man gets deluded. In 42, Indriyani paranyahur Indriyebhyah param manaha Manasastu para buddhir Yo buddhir paratastu saha. Here Bhagwan is telling the senses are superior to the gross body. We see the gross body, the physical body, we see it. But here Bhagwan is telling that the senses are superior to our gross body, our physical body. And superior to the senses is our mind. Beyond the mind is intellect. And even beyond the intellect is a soul. So here Bhagwan is giving us a flow chart. Who is superior to whom? So the gross body that we feel is so big, strong. Okay, who is superior than our gross body? Our senses. Who is superior to our senses? Mind. Who is superior to our mind? Intellect. And who is superior to our intellect? That is our soul. So Bhagwan tells us that our soul is the best, or it is the superior of all the things mentioned over here. 43rd, Evam buddhih param buddhva saustabhyatmanamatmanaha jahi shatrum mahabaho kamarupan durasadam. Bhagwan here is telling us this, knowing the soul to be superior. Now that we know that the soul is superior than all these things, now with that we know that the soul is superior to the material intellect. O mighty armed Arjun, subdue the lower self. So all these things that are lower than the soul, which are the things lower than the soul? The senses, the mind, the intellect, even our gross body. Subdue it. That means just don't think about it. Subdue the lower self by the higher self and kill this formidable enemy called lust. So Bhagwan here is giving the solution to us, or Arjun, how to kill lust, how to kill the desire or the calm, which is the reason for misery, or the reason because of which We don't attain Vivek Gyan. Then Bhagwan tells us that you have to understand this process, that who is superior, and knowing the soul to be superior to all the things, the materialistic things as well as the senses, mind, and intellect. You have to kill this formidable enemy that we called as lust. Here, I have just mentioned who is superior to whom because this sequence is asked in exam. So make a flowchart of it. That subtler, stronger and subtler than gross are senses, gross body, our senses. Then subtler and stronger than senses is our mind. Stronger is buddhi. Stronger and subtler than buddhi is ego or ahankar. And the gross part of ahankar is desire. Ahankar is a subtler part, very subtle part, and the gross part of ahankar is desire or lust or buddhi. So,
Ma'am, could you explain Ahankar once again? It's the same ego that we have as a human being, or it is something different?
it is the same. The ego or the ahankar, the I. Okay, I am this, I am that. It is Bhagwan here is telling about the same ahankar, the ego that we have. We are so involved in this physical body, this materialistic world, that because of this ego, because of this ahankar, we don't see anything. We are ignorant. So, ahankar, he's saying that how do you understand ahankar? Ahankar is very subtle. So here Bhagwan is telling that ahankar is subtle, but the gross part of ahankar is desire. So how do you understand that you have ahankar, or how do you understand that you are free from ego or free from ahankar? How will you understand? For that, Bhagwan is telling that desire is the gross part. So when you are free from desire, that time you will understand that yes, you are free from ahankar. That means you are free from I. You are free from me. That is how you will understand that you have lost that I or me or ego that is within each and every person. So understand that because it is subtle, very difficult to understand. You just have to see in your day-to-day life, you have to focus on your desires. If you have desire, that means the ahankar is still there. If you want this, if you want that, if you want this, whenever that thought comes to your mind, that means ahankar is still there in you.